a small one on this, but I didn't like it. So, as you know, we're in the anniversary. We've got that 50% coupon for doubloon ships that are in the armory, etc. If you don't know where to find that, or you've just started unlocking them, I hope you've already started. You've only got 18 days left. It's in Parallel Worlds, and it's right here. Is the Commander coupon, which gives you a list of all these ships. Now, we're going to go over the ships that I would give my seal of approval on why. Now, if you have the extra one sitting around and you can get both of them, pick up Bayard. Bayard is a great choice. As you can see, I have my Bayard. I just got it a few days ago. And I've already got 33,000 on it. I love this ship. I cannot see anything wrong. The reason why, it gets, sorry about that, 5 charges of reload booster and a significant amount of consumables. And that's when I run for a build. Roll Katsuki was wanting more interesting builds, so I took him up on the offer. And I've seen enough Bayard footage from Flamu and a lot of things over the years to figure out what I want to tailor my playstyle as. But onto the ships that you could get that I would say pick up. Kid. Kid is probably number 1 on the list, at least for where we're starting, if you like DDs, because it gets fully built into it. Again, sorry I have a weak commander. It would have 4 charges of smoke, 4 charges of heal, and 4 charges of either def AA or engine boost. There's the build for you. Or modules, sorry. It's a great destroyer. It is extremely tanky. It's really competitive. Tier 8 clan battles come back around. It's a solid pick. There's nothing wrong with the ship at all. Besides the fact that you only get 1 torpedo rack. That's the only downside. And it does have a pretty good reload of 2 minutes. So you have to be wary of that. If you're going to launch torps, make sure you're going to hit all 5 of them. For the next ship is La Terrible. La Terrible is also another great DD. Put on my captain for you so we can get accurate stats. Now, you know there's always dockyard missions or just random missions that might just pop up that might require you to get fast kills or fast torpedo hits. Guess what ship I go to when I need to do that? And I'm not a great destroyer player. This was before they were counting it in operations. But if I would probably still do it in co-op because it equals the full amount. I do La Terrible. It gets 9 torp tubes. 1 in the middle and 2 on each side. So that's a great, armament to just push in, wiggle, drop 1 set, squeeze by the DD and the cruiser, and drop the last set on the battleship. Or gun down the DD, torp the cruiser, drop both sets on the battleship. Boom, 3 kills, and you clear your whole side. There's a reason I love this ship. I actually got this ship for free a long time ago. And I heard really good things about it. And I love this ship. It's another solid pick for sure. Gascogne. Gascogne is another really good pick. We do have the review on the channel, and we've got more footage of Gascogne coming soon. It may not be for this update, unfortunately, but it will come. It's a really solid ship, and I can give the seal of my approval on. If you wanted to spec at secondaries, you can. Just be aware that even with IFHE, you're only crossing the 21mm threshold, which isn't much. You'll pin DDs all day long in ops, but most cruisers you'll just break. If you want a secondary Frenchie, go with Flander. Fortunately, Flander's not on the list, which is unfortunate. The reason I give Gascogne, I would recommend Gascogne over Flander, is because one, Flander may have a huge health pool of like 70,000, but it doesn't get engine boost, and it gets less heals. And Gascogne really does prepare you for the Republic. If you can learn to play Gascogne, guess what? Burgonde, Republic are all going to come easy to you. That's why Gascogne gets a mention, because it paves the way for being able to well play other lines and play other ships. So it's a double, or actually in this case it's a trio learning experience. Irian is another great choice. And Lo Yang. Irian is great. It gets 13.5 kilometer torps that are Yu Yang torps. Believe me, you spam these things out in randoms and operations, they're gonna hurt. I've caught multiple enemies off in randoms by dropping these torps. Because they're deep water, they're low detectability. So you could drop them on a battleship. That battleship turns back in after you're putting enough damage on him. Guess what? He takes your torps and he floods to death. These are huge. These are really huge game-changing weapons here on the Irian, because it's such a versatile platform. The torps, the guns, the chappy guns, the Yu Yang torps, the reload booster. You're talking 16 torpedoes. It's not as great as Harbin, for sure, but it's still pretty good. Harbin would be a better, if you wanted a free option, but could do the same thing. The only bad news is that Harbin's more squishier and requires more skill. Irian, if you're good with the Chapayev or any of its clones, hell, Irian's your next best. I honestly love this ship. I cannot think of a bad thing about Irian. Lo Yang is a great ship for competitive, ranked, randoms. It just gets a lower one because of the torps. With a sock speed, unfortunately, of 55 knots without any modifiers, it does get pretty hard. And you can increase that by taking torpedo mods. But I find when you take enemy systems, it really is a trick between balance, because Yu Yang is a gunboat. It can gun down DDs at close range, but you lose that extra torp speed. So it really is kind of just one of those ships that just doesn't want to... It's stuck between... It's in a middle spot between its identity, in my opinion. Sejong isn't on the list, but it's basically a Saipan. Volram is a great Operation CV player, and Volram has told me that if you can learn to play the Saipan or Sejong, any other carrier comes easy. That's just a given. If you can learn to play the Sejong or Saipan comfortably, talking at least, and what I mean by comfortably, sorry if there's a little bit of blah there. What I mean by that is meaning that you're cracking 150 to 200k. Again, in operations. I know that seems like a lot, but it really isn't. If you can stack the damage, it goes up real quickly. And Saipan has huge alpha strike abilities. And that comes from its torpedo bombers and its bombers. They're really good. These are its bread and butter. These do huge alpha strikes at the cost of having low plane reserves. But if you can manage both of those, you're going to be doing great. And Volram's ultimate CV guide, I will have coming out next month. About my next month, I mean in November, unfortunately. No, unfortunately, our October schedule is already booked. Bagration and Vanguard and Siliwangi would be my last three. So let's go over those three. We just had our Vanguard review come out, and I have been experimenting with a new build, as I'll highlight that for you now. I really do enjoy that build. I think it works great. It's odd, but I'm really loving this build. I think this build really works. The guns are already 25 seconds, And randoms, that's actually pretty decent. Then you're looking at full maneuverability, 7.8. Those are Vanguard's huge selling points. If you love Warspite, Vanguard's just an up-tiered Warspite. The downside is it does have a pretty good Citadel. So we'll pull that away, since if you haven't seen the review, there's its Citadel. It is waterline Citadel, so basically you can get slapped. If the enemy aims wrong and hits here, odds are it's not going to Citadel you, because they won't miss it. But if they know where to hit you, you're screwed. So it isn't, it's a strong ship, but it isn't newbie friendly for sure. It takes knowledge of the game and just knowledge of how to play battleships. So it's a little bit low on the list. The reason it still gets mentioned is because this coupon gives you half off. Vanguard's like $53, so that'd be like $25. 26 roughly, maybe. I'm not going to do the math. I hate math. But you're looking at a really good ship for half price. It's one of the most expensive Tier 8 battleships. So this would be a great time to pick it up. Bagration. You all know I love Bagration. I have high praise for this ship, without a doubt. The only downside is that if it can't use its railgun AP on maps like Aegis, Cherry Blossom, Ultimate Frontier, sometimes Raptor Rescue, if it can't make use of that armor piercing, it does suffer. The torps are decent at 8 kilometers and do 14,000 damage, so there is that ability. Her AA is really great too, so it's a really good platform. There's nothing wrong with that ship at all. I mean, it's a great ship. Vanguard. Yeah, there's just a lot of good ships on here. But there is one underrated ship that never gets mentioned. Is Mr. Siliwangi. The reason Siliwangi doesn't get mentioned is because it is an Ognivoid. It's an Ognivoid. It has only 4 guns, so that is a downside. The AA is not that bad, but it won't hardly save you against the determined CB. The reason why we have to give it a mention is because of these abilities. Is its Hydro. 5.5 detection on ships, 4 kilometer detection on torps. Really decent Hydro. Again, Lo Yang has, the same Hydro. But I think the Siliwangi just does it better. Again, it is only deep water, so it does hit cruisers and battleships and aircraft carriers. And these torps do a hell of a lot of damage. 18,000. And that's without putting any skills or anything into it. That only goes up higher. So if we put that on higher, we put, which skill was it again? I could have sworn there was a skill that did increase damage. Huh. But if you're lucky enough to get Charging Bing, it really does work for this ship. But it's that Hydro. And the reason I have to say it, give it that mention, is not because of my personal opinion. It's also because of Flamu's opinion. Before, a long time ago, Flamu would say, he would sign off on Siliwangi for one thing. One thing. Because it's so rare, nobody buys this ship. And they forget what its capabilities are. People forget that this thing has fast loading smoke. It has Lo Yang Hydro. German Hydro, basically. They forget it has this. So you can catch people off guard with this thing. Because everyone's seen Lo Yang. Everyone's seen German Hydro. But you don't see many Siliwangis. It's that much rarer ship that no one plays it. So you can catch a lot of people off guard. If it's in the way randoms have been going, you can catch a lot of DDs off if you want to be that kind of player. Which is, your team's going to be thanking you, for sure. But that is pretty much my list of ships that I would give my seal of approval on. The other ones, unfortunately, I don't have. The other one I would recommend also is Tiger 59. There's only one reason I would recommend Tiger 59. My old commander of one line once told me that if you could play the British light cruisers, Minotaur, Edinburgh, Neptune, and do a really good job in them and perform sufficiently, guess what? Every other cruiser in the game plays easy compared to that line. If you can play the Minotaur line and do it really good, guess what? The rest of the lines are easy. So there are, or is that incentive. If you want to become a better player and challenge yourself, Tiger 59 for sure. And I would imagine a Minotaur build would work just as fine with it. Or any, whatever build you're running on your light cruisers would work. But that is my, pretty much in a nutshell, my top picks for the coupon, folks. I can't think of any other ship I would, recommend other than those few ships that you could play operations with and you have the most bang for your buck. And that can score you sufficient amount of credits, sufficient amount of free XP, commander XP, you name it. It'll get farmed real easily.